Hey everybody, welcome to the Backstage Speakeasy after party. I don't know what we're really calling it, but we just finished watching Metropolis, and thank you to everybody who came up to watch and to hang out. It's a really interesting movie. So, for those of you who might not know, there's a link I posted in the chat that is a kind of like a little trailer, and we'll play that here actually in just a minute. But it's a movie that was made in 1927, and it's a silent film. And I think maybe it was the first. Watt Life was saying he thinks it, and I think I've heard this too. It was the first like sci-fi movie, full length movie, but I'm not certain about that. But it's really interesting, and it's amazingly relevant to today for being almost 100 years old, which is pretty crazy. So, Bran and Bonnie, any thoughts you want to share about the movie? And as you're sharing, I'm going to go through real quick and just say hi to everybody.
Everyone needs to watch it. I think it's very relevant to today. You can see it all just playing out. Sorry about the way I sound.
Oh, you sound fine, Bonnie. There are a lot of messages in it. Why don't we go ahead and do the trailer, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. So I'll go ahead and pull this up. Thanks, Brian. All right. I'll go ahead and drop the link also in the chat for the full length movie. It's on YouTube on a channel that I found, so you can watch it there if you want to check it out. Somebody said transhumanism, and I think in this, basically, I mean, especially for the time it was made, again in 1927, it involves AI and kind of cloning in a way. And I think today I heard that the first Neuralink was just installed. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Yeah, I did see Musk's tweet.
Yep. Right. I don't know the details of that yet, if it's more than one person or if it's just one person at this point, but that's a little terrifying, I think.
I think it was kind of neat that they mentioned, was it the 7 sins of death?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, the 7 deadly sins?
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah, this Pendar said the score was really great, and yeah, I wasn't sure if it was original or added. I think it was probably original because the version that we have has all the like I guess it explains at the beginning of the video, but there was a lot of lost footage that was found in 2008, so not that long ago, and restored that's included in this version. But I don't know. That's a good question about the score. And actually, then that would make sense if they had maybe the score was added after if they had to add in other footage. Really good question there, Pendar. And I didn't know Skull Asylum said that he has a newer animated version of Metropolis, and I have not seen that. That'd be really interesting to watch and see if it's been changed. You know, the main story's been changed at all. Yeah, I know, Joe. It is kind of nice to be on at a different time. I know it's kind of a weird time to do a movie because not everybody can, do it. It's a work day and all that jazz. But thank you to everybody that was able and came by. Hey, Billy, good to see you. Yeah. Yep. It is. It is kind of creepy. I mean, I think it's creepy in some ways that it's so relevant, and it's kind of. But we were also saying, for being, it's about a 2.5 hour movie, and it's a silent film. So for a 2.5 hour movie of silence, it's pretty engaging. Like it really keeps your attention and draws you in. And I like a lot of silent movies. It's a little overacted, but I think really it holds up really well. Even the special effects in it.
Yeah. It also seems, during the days of Ayn Rand, that we were being foretold what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would call it prophetic, but I would call it educated at the very least. These people knew what was coming.
Yeah, I think more and more that's what it was too. I think this is a really long-term plan that's been at play for a long, obviously very long time. So I feel like, but also there's a lot of it that ties back to the Bible, So, hey again, Watt Life. You know what I mean?
Agree. And, perhaps some of it came from that, but I think some of it came from Zurich, Switzerland. The educated scholars there, they knew.
Yeah, so you agree that this plan that we're seeing play out now has been in place since then, at least?
Time, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think longer than then, since 1871 seems to be a major year back then. I don't know. But
hey, Watt. Thanks for coming back up.
Hello again.
Yeah. Watt was helping point out a lot of the symbolism in the movie. Like at the one thing we noticed was a lot of one eye symbolism.
Yeah.
Yep. In the star.
Then the
Right.
when he created the guess you could say AI, or when he transferred the woman's consciousness to the robot, the guy made the comment, I want to destroy the one who created you in his image.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Especially considering technology. It has so many good uses, but just like anything good, it can be perverted to a certain degree.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I mean, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say there's a lot of talk even now about, is AI the Antichrist? Is AI, the beast system, part of the beast system? And I think it's interesting to see that in this movie from almost 100 years ago, before we know that they had anything like AI, they're portraying AI as the Antichrist or maybe as Mystery Babylon. I wasn't exactly sure. There were some references to that in there too.
Maybe as a like a precursor or like an introduction to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI and the metaverse is all intertwined to a certain degree. Um, you can learn so much from the internet and stuff, but at the same time, if you're not using it for good, it can consume you in a way.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
Joe says tech is a tool like anything else. It can be used for good or evil. The choice is yours. Yeah, I
Exactly.
agree.
Absolutely. But I
Yeah.
think the old minds were closer in hitting them, getting the point across, as Ayn Rand and others,
Mm-hmm.
because there was more available knowledge then. Since then, we've had whitewashed, manipulated education system, literature, so on and so forth. And to bury some of those thought processes of what's going on, eugenics and control, and it's been used in many different ways. But I do believe there were, as now, as then, those that knew and know and see for what it
Right.
is.
Yeah, we were kind of saying
Yes,
it's not so much that they were foreseeing. Yeah, it's not so much that they were prophets that were foreseeing what would happen, is that they knew the plans that were in place.
and trying to depict that in whatever manner they could.
Right. Okay,
Some
so do you
with
think that they were trying to depict it? Do you think they were trying to depict that as a warning to us, or were they doing it because it's part of the? I've heard that that's part of what they need to do is like basically put it in our faces, and it's like a soft compliance if they tell us in that way, and we accept it. What are your thoughts on that?
Predictive programming in a way.
So is that just basically desensitizing us to it so that we'll accept it when it comes?
I think it's a little of both.
Go ahead, Lady Smith.
I agree with that there are the few now that want to portray as warning, and others in order to desensitize and prepare, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're less than more knowing with warning.
Yeah.
Ayn Rand, I mean, she went to great depths to forewarn, and of course, considered as a mad woman, and I'm not going to disagree with any of it, but obviously she didn't do what she did unintentionally. She
Right.
didn't write what she wrote. She didn't have the conferences that she went to. They were all, I think she was, warning, this is what's happening and this is what's going to be, not prophetically, but educated as to what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing much of that now. But I think we see more on the side of, if you will, if there are sides to be chosen, warning presently. There are so many involved in what's going on in a nefarious manner because they benefit, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm guessing it's kind of like it is now, but maybe on a smaller scale. But I think a lot of the people who are involved now don't even necessarily realize that they're a part of it. You know what I mean? Things are so compartmentalized that people who are participating in different areas may not really understand fully what they're involved in. At the lower levels.
I get that, yes, and the point of micromanagement, that's the great attempt here, and which just seems to be in many ways.
Yeah.
But we should remember those old scholars that were through film and through literature and art as today. That these things aren't necessarily meant to be used in a positive manner. You know, I looked forward to getting old so that my body wouldn't be going through quite as much as we did back then. But if that means stem cell replacement therapy, not of my own,
Yeah.
you know.
No, that's a really good point. You know, we were talking about how there's, tech can be used for positive and negative. Like where is that line? How do you determine, where it's positive and where it's negative? That's a good thought. Pendar said, so if we download our brains to AI, do we cease to exist? In this movie, the original, the woman who was copied or her image was made on this AI, what do they call it? The machine man, was still fine. She was still herself, but they weren't really necessarily putting her mind or her personality or who she is into the AI. It was more made in the image of her, from my understanding of it. And it was controlled by the person who created it, not by her or by the AI itself. It was, controlled by the creator of the AI.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you've heard of the author H.G. Wells. He wrote many fascinating books. The most commonly known is The Time Machine. And
Right.
most of his literature and books were written and published pre-1900. And I mean, there's dozens of good reads. But just to have these thoughts and stuff then, it's hard to believe it's something they just imagined. Because with all the access to technology and stuff now, people seem to imagine less. So,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
They didn't have all the distractions of checking a Twitter or checking a post and this. They just had to sit around and observe, see everything that's going in, and process it. Like you said, the machine man created the machine, and I guess in a way transcended the essence of the woman to the robot. And the whole time, the machine man is getting the people, the workers, to destroy something. So it's almost like a simulated crisis. Oh no, we have this we have this crisis, and we need the workers to fix this crisis. Because the whole time the machine man's orchestrating the whole thing, Yeah, he's telling the people to destroy that machine, but look what it did. It flooded the city. It caused chaos and event.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all like an FF, in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I wish I had gotten a screenshot of this one quote, but in the movie it talks about how basically the leader, kind of like the president, I guess, the leader has said that he's going to allow the workers, like basically both groups of workers, to fight against each other and cause enough destruction that then the leaders can come in and be justified in taking over control violently if they need to against them. And I thought, well, doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah,
trying to cause division and then cause
1927 or 2027, is so eerily
right?
close.
Yeah. And it is interesting that it's almost to the 100-year anniversary because, dates are important to some people.
That's what was interesting too, was the way you could see people, a couple would start doing something and then they were all doing the same thing. But
yeah, a lot of herd mentality, we were saying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good thoughts there, Bran. 15th, good to see you. Tommy, thanks for being here. Joe,
Imagine
good to see you. Hey.
What the people were thinking when they went to the theater or wherever they saw this movie at in those times. What were they thinking about?
Oh, right. Yeah, I would imagine it would have just been absolutely foreign. You know what I mean? It must have seemed like mind blowing, I would think, because the technology, or supposedly was nowhere near what they were portraying, but now a lot of it is reality. So I don't know.
Yeah, they were probably laughing at it, thinking it was so far-fetched it could never happen. And here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
So
you said,
kind
a
of
lot of it.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's just overlap. Sometimes you're good. Go ahead. What?
And like you said, it's the machine man or whoever's calling the shots. It's the long game to them. A lot of times we get lost because we only see, the here and now. We have to go
Mm-hmm.
back and look at his story, whoever wrote the story. Um, Try not to so much look into the future. So I mean, we only see the short game. The machine man, he's got the wheels have been turning on this so long. We only see a one fragment of it at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Pennsylvania Preparedness says, anybody seen Her with Joaquin Phoenix? Feel like that would be a more realistic early AI issue. I have seen that, but it's been a very long time, and I honestly don't remember the intricacies of it enough. Maybe that would be one we could do for another Backstage Speakeasy.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. I think I saw it when it first came out, and I just don't there were a lot of AI movies that kind of came out around the same time, so it's kind of a blur. Hey, Algo, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
It's like the one, if you've ever seen it, it's called El Machina.
Yes. Yeah, see, that's another one I was thinking of. There was that, and then there was one, maybe it wasn't exactly the same time. This might have been a little before, but there was one with Robin Williams, and there were a bunch kind of all at this around the same time that I kind of merged together.
The director of El Machina, he's also the one that did the 28 days, 28 weeks later movies. He's
Oh,
also
right.
the one that has the upcoming movie that's coming out in April. The movie titled Civil War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joe Morgan says back in 1927, heroin was still legal. Machine guns could come in the mail, and you still had to be 21 to vote. Times change as people grow soft.
Yeah.
Lady Smith, I'm sorry you're having tech problems, but thank you so much for coming up. Appreciate you. Okay, thanks for stopping by. Much love to you. Hey, Feisty. Tess, good to see you. Yeah, Joe says, I've been watching old movies lately. I don't have the brain power for the new bandwagons everyone's jumping on. Yeah, I think almost watching any movie. I mean, it really is almost any movie. There's a lot of, symbolism or protective programming or warning, whatever it is. I can't help but almost see it in almost all movies. It's very rare for me to watch a movie and not have something that I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's Masonic. That's satanic. That's, a lot of different things. So interesting. That's what I mean. I always wonder if it's a warning or if they're boasting or if they're just seeking soft compliance. I don't know.
I think it would be both. Because in order for them to boast about it, they're kind of warning us about it. So it's kind of a little bit of both, They leave it up to, I guess, our own discernment. If we see it, there's signs everywhere. If we have the eyes to see them and the ears to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the thing, they kind of lay out their plan. You just kind of, I guess, pick up little clues and hints along the way. It's like when you watch stuff as a child and rewatch as an adult, you notice so much more.
Mm-hmm. Bran, is this a link? Oh, not that one. I think there was is this a link to a movie? The Civil War link? Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All
that's
right. I see it there. Civil War. And then there was another one here. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Just the ones that were mentioned.
Yep.
And the release date of the Civil War movie is the anniversary of the start of the Civil War. April the 12th, I believe.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It seems like they are always celebrating these anniversaries and specific dates. Algo says, I think it is demonic reveal, so we bring it into this existence. Maybe. That's kind of like the soft compliance idea too, but also like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like wearing us down. I don't know why the word's not coming to me. I just think of it all the time, but yeah, where they're making us so that we're no longer shocked by these things. We expect them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it gets people talking about something, and yeah, it's something is traumatic, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's very small, but it gets people to talking about it, and I guess it could speak things into existence, just like we can speak good. If you can speak good, I imagine you'd have to speak bad into existence, that constant balance of positive and negative.
Yep. Yeah. Eileen says evil has to show us we paid, and watching means you accept their agenda. I don't know if watching does as much as it kind of breaking us down to make us open to it. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I know. I posted the link, Pendar, for the whole movie. Maybe I'll put it in again too. I could even pin that. But yeah, so you guys can grab that link. It's on YouTube. I don't know if that'll stay up indefinitely, but it's been there for a while. So, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's the extended, kind of extended version too. So that's nice. Yeah, Dragon Slayer says the media acts as a muse, planting ideas in people's heads and redefining what people consider to be potentially possible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yep.
Dragon Slayer. It's a cool name.
Yeah, he also goes by A Minute Detail.
It's
Has
the
a great
Chinese
channel.
Year of the Dragon, so they say.
Yes, it is. I know. I don't know why. It just makes me feel a little like nervous. There's a lot of symbolism and meaning that goes with the dragon. So, I don't know.
Yeah, especially once you kind of dig into it and start peeling the layers of onions back.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
a
but
rabbit
Algo
hole
points
in
out
itself.
we are powerful creators, and when we focus on their nonsense, maybe we help bring it forth. Yeah, and that's the hard thing. I think there's a balance that needs to be, struck between trying to gain enough knowledge to prepare for how we can, or to be able to, in a way, fight back how we can, but also, get completely overwhelmed or give into it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, conditioning.
Just think about how much energy that has to be made and transition just for us to live. I know it's a blessing, but
Mm-hmm.
breathing, thinking, all of this is happening without us even doing anything.
Yeah.
I forget the studies, but they did a study on how much energy the human body can create within a day, and
Right.
it was amazing.
That is interesting. Hey, JS, some of us just finished watching Backstage, the movie Metropolis. It's an old movie from 1927, and now we're just kind of talking about it and some of the things it brought to mind. Pen Prep says, I gotta say, I like the Netflix movie Leave the World Behind. Got some people who I know that were on the fence about prepping to wise up a bit. I've heard that. I actually have still not watched that movie. That would be another one to do Backstage too. Have
You'll
any of
like
you up
that
on?
one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's almost anything I watch, I see some parallel to what's happening today, or what I think their plans are,
Well, I won't spoil it for you, but if you haven't seen it, I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks. No spoilers. Try not to give even too many spoilers now. I mean, this movie's from 1927, so, but I mean, really, it's not something that you can have too much of a spoiler for, I think, even if you know what it's about. This is the second time that I've watched it, and I picked up on a lot more, I think, even than the first. But Yeah, it's I definitely think it's worth a watch. Yeah, Lady Smith says to be considerate with personal energy may well be primary. Yeah, I like that. Kind of, like how does it worded in the Bible? I'm going to butcher the way it's worded, but it says, to keep your mind on positive things, basically the things of God.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. I'm definitely guilty of focusing a lot on things that are not of God just to try to figure out what's going on, So
Hmm.
it's a good point.
Yes, because it can consume you. I've
Yeah.
had to step away from YouTube, so I miss a lot now. And to just get that peace back, because it can
Take care, Elgo.
get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a pretty healthy place that, kind of walking that tightrope right now. But, and I've talked about this before, and some of you were along with me for the ride. But when I was really like just waking up to a lot of things and just starting to question a lot and just starting to like go down a lot of rabbit holes, I definitely, I think, got to an unhealthy level of like anxiety and fear. And that's a message that I've been being told by God and by many in this community, or by God through many in this community over and over again, is that whole fear not, God
Yes.
doesn't give us the spirit of fear. So I'm holding tight to that one. And I do think I'm in a much better place. But, I think a lot of us have experienced something like that, whether it was 20 years ago or 4 years ago or 3 months ago, or maybe some of you are going through it now. It's that almost that cognitive dissonance trying to kick in. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
definitely.
Yeah. Pen Prep says, I don't walk a tightrope, so I'm a bull in a china shop. I like that. That might be a good way to be. I'm not sure about that one. Maybe we all go through phases. All right. Brand shared Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Thank you, Bran. That's much
Definitely.
better put than how I paraphrased it. Yeah.
Just think about
You're
it when
close
you.
enough that I knew what you were talking about.
I know. I love that you always know the actual biblical reference, and I'm like, yeah, there's somewhere in the Bible that says something like this. What were you going to say? What?
It's like when you just have time to kick back. You don't have to work. You don't have to worry about nothing. You're just reading a book or relaxing. I mean, you just think about how much better you feel when you're not overwhelmed and bombarded with 1,000 different breaking newses or,
Mhm.
current events.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
That's definitely
Yeah.
a little bit harder in modern society, but we all have to find our balance and our happy place, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. DS says all that's going on is that day by day we inch closer and closer to the fulfillment of prophecy. Yeah, they actually, they talk about that in this movie. The end is nigh, and that was 100 years ago. Kind of puts things in perspective a bit too.
Mm.
It's like the last time I was up with you, I was determined to be at the meetup with the truckers that are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, I got sick. So I'm
Yeah.
taking that as I wasn't meant to be there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still really torn on that whole issue because I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe that people should have the right people do have the right to freedom of speech, and people do have the right to peacefully gather and assemble. And so, I think that people need to use those rights and shouldn't be afraid of that. But at the same time, I think whenever that happens, whether it's set up as a FF or an operation like I think J6 was, or anything along those lines, that doesn't necessarily mean people shouldn't go ahead and show up for it, because
Right.
no matter when they gather, it's going to be deemed that that's going to be an issue. We can't not ever stand up,
Yeah. And they're the ones that put it together, they're calling it a revival, that they're praying, and that they do have speakers. I don't know what they're speaking about. If it's the Lord, hallelujah. And they're not going to El Paso. They're going north of El Paso. I think it's like 40 miles. And so but then I heard him say something like, I'm hoping this will be the beginning, that others will step up. I don't know. And on my last live, I put a link to Operation Lone Star. Have y'all heard of that?
Yeah.
They're accepting volunteers. And on their website, it says, we are accepting volunteers. That to me says a lot. That you can volunteer to go to the border for what? It doesn't say for what, but
yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just like, I'm kind of one to question everyone at this point to some extent, you know what I mean? So being that like this is all kind of come together seemingly quickly, I sort of wonder who, the people on the front are. Like, I don't remember his name, but the guy who has, is kind of the head of that website that's, what I'm talking about. I wish I remembered his name.
I'm getting it.
The organizer basically of it. And I wouldn't know. I don't even know if I've heard his name, so I don't know that I'd even know it if you said it. But I just hope that he's legit. You know what I mean? But I don't even, then it comes down to, what does that even mean? Does that mean that I hope he agrees with everything I agree with? Do I hope that he's, at least follows the Constitution? Do I hope that he's not a Fed? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different levels of that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that feeling.
And then I got this thing today saying that it fell flat.
Exactly, Feisty.
Yeah, I believe in everybody's right to speak their mind as long as it's peaceful. You're not trying to cause any loss, injury, or harm to anybody else.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if I say, hey, you can't say that, then guess what? They're eventually going to say, you can't say that. I can no longer say what I want to say.
Right.
As long as it's peaceful.
Pete Chambers. Yeah. He's a former military commander.
Right, Feisty. Feisty says, I just wish all sides could try and get along with your differences. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really do believe that that's what the majority of the people in the United States want. I think that most of us do believe in the Constitution and believe that we have the right to have our own opinions, to have the freedom of choice. And, it seems like that's being taken away incrementally. And right now, it does seem to me, at least, like it's coming politically, it seems like it's coming more from one side than the other. But I also believe that both sides politically are a part of the same plan. So while it appears that way, I don't think that's really what it is in reality. I think it's one global agenda and global group that is, that we're seeing those plans in play. And this movie and movies like this, hinted at what their plans were almost 100 years ago and since. Yeah.
It's just like this has been ongoing for quite some time, but it's reaching I think it's reaching a major turning point. But like Germany, the Netherlands, Europe, all the farmers that's gathering in protest at certain things that's happening. I don't know if you've been tracking or following that.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the farmers are really stepping up everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I think like we said, it's a global plan. So globally, food is under attack. There was just somewhere I did not see where it was, but there was another chicken processing plant that
In
had an
Texas.
explosion and the entire thing burned. That was in Texas.
It was
Yeah.
in Kirkland, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Kirkland, Texas. Yeah, it was a
So
Fresh Farms or something. It was yeah.
Yeah. Feisty says, I think they all care about themselves and we're nothing. They want to push everyone against each other. Yeah, that's exactly what I believe too. And that's what I mean. I think both when, whether you consider yourself a liberal or an independent or a Republican, I really believe that the vast majority, anywhere in that spectrum, have a lot more in common than we have that's different. And it's the extremes on both sides, the actual extremes, not what they are trying to portray as being an extremist, but the actual extremes on both sides that are the real problem, and also the ones that are the useful idiots for the people who are actually in charge.
Yeah, we're more.
I thought it was
all of us, no matter who we are or where we've come from, we're more alike than we are different. Most of these disagreements and conflicts we have these days is more or less imagined disagreements. It's disagreements about stuff that doesn't really even exist or really matter. They like to put us in these boxes, and you put someone in a box, it's not a good fit. That's just like when else do you put people in box? In a boxing ring, two opponents going at it. At the end of the day, it's just two guys. They're just in there fighting it out. They're in the box. It's kind of how we're doing it. Well, not necessarily us, but people in general.
right.
I think that's why they keep talking about civil war. They want to see it happen.
Yeah, because if we take out ourselves, then it's less work for them to do, and then we're not uniting to stand against them, but the problem, I think, yeah. I mean, and I hope that's obvious to most, and I think it's becoming more obvious to more and more every day. I see people waking up at different levels, or starting to question things more that I didn't think maybe ever would. So that's a little encouraging. What about for you guys? I'm probably in one of the more liberal areas, but what are you guys seeing as far as people starting to question things, or starting to really see there's things aren't as they seem or as they should be?
That's funny you asked that. So my friend of 40 years, blue, Smurf blue, just totally. And I was talking to her the other day, and she started telling me all this stuff. They just want us dead. She was just going on and on, like everything we've been talking about. And I was like, all right, she is the last one. We are saved, y'all. Because if she could turn and see what's really going on, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, Elaine, I know what you mean. I know that there are people that hold that belief. Elaine says they're not allowing contaminated food, and corporations, they're saving us. And I think you mean about the fire. And I've heard this from others who believe that there are white hats who are, basically people who are working on this side of good, who are trying to take out things like plants for food that are, and I definitely agree 100% that our food is being used as a weapon against us. If you look into bioengineered food ingredients and GMO and Monsanto. I mean, all those things. If you look into all of that, there's like so much
Yep.
toxic about our foods, and this especially in this country. A lot of our foods and ingredients that we are allowed here, I mean, I think we all know this, are banned in other countries. They won't have them there. Or now if they do have them, they have to put these big, like Surgeon General type warnings on them that say this ingredient is supposed to be, causes this and different cancers and neurological issues and, developmental delays. And here we are, feeding them to our children every Halloween in mass and, in every processed food. It's crazy. But I don't think that I don't personally believe that. I wish it were true. I hope it is true, but I don't think that they're white hats that are doing these things. I think it's the globalist agenda to take out our food supply to make us more reliant on them and, eventually get us more under their boot because they're trying to move towards, a digital currency and a social credit. And I really think China is basically the blueprint.
I don't know. I've been seeing where FDA has been pulling down a lot of things, that they're even talking about the toxic chemicals that are in foods and the forever chemicals. I've been seeing a lot of research coming out now about all of that. So it could be that it's finally being exposed, or for whatever reason they're looking into it.
I've said this before. I'm not judging anyone who believes these things. I wish and hope that there are white hats out there. I think we, in some ways, are the white hats. We're the ones who are also going to, I hope, when the time really comes to stand up, no matter what labels or boxes they've tried to put you in, you'll stand up for what's right, or we will collectively. So it's not like I don't believe that there's a good force out there. I just don't necessarily trust that plan, But Elaine, I appreciate you being here, and I'm glad that you're sharing it, and that's why I highlight it, not to put down what you're believing, just to share kind of my own beliefs too. It's part of the conversation.
Definitely, it's being more. If you have the time and the space to be more self-sufficient, less reliant on someone else or the big corporations. You've got the room.
Yeah.
Start to a garden. Grow you some herbs, vegetables. The best time to plant a fruit tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
I like that. Yep.
If you can get some chickens, get some chickens. Get some rabbits. If you've got the space and the time to handle it, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I'm not even close to where I wish I was. We don't have the space. We rent. We don't own. We don't have the space to have chickens or anything like that. But, even though that's the case, I've still been prepping. I'm still getting things ready. I won't go into everything, but I've also, have some container gardens and microgreens and things like that I'm taking steps to be able to provide, but I'm definitely not to the level I want to be at. But I know I've come a long way from where I was, even 3 years ago, where I probably was like most, Americans, where we have I think they say usually most people have about 3 days worth of food on hand, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm well past that at this point, even though I'm not in a system where I'd be able to maintain for indefinitely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is the ideal, to be able to be out of the system completely. I'm definitely not there, but
yeah.
I'm doing what I can, and I think slow and steady and all that.
That's all we can do. Do the best with what we have available.
Right. Exactly. Brand says C.S. Lewis spoke of the worst kind of tyranny, in which the tyrants are fully convinced in themselves that they're dominating for the greater good. Really good point, Brand. And I mean, I do wonder sometimes if that's how so many people who are more aware of what's happening can justify it. Because, I've played a video on here before, and I think a lot of us have seen footage like this from the 50s, where it's the one I had played was of school children, and ironically, or maybe not ironically, the algorithm at the time, the computer projections at that time had bit calculations, had said that the world in I think it was 2020 or 2025 would be completely overpopulated, and we would have all this pollution, and there'd be like all of these things, which the kids were then saying that they, basically how they would hate living in this time that we're in now. And I wondered if that was like the propaganda at the time to convince people to join in with eugenics and the depopulation agenda. I mean, if you don't know about the Georgia Guidestones, that's a good place to look into to see what their plans are in a succinct way.
I went there twice, but yeah, it was interesting how all that went down. I live probably maybe 2 hours south of where they were located.
Mm-hmm. I have just a kind of weird feeling or weird question, but like, how did it feel to be there? Did it feel like a heavy place, or did it feel?
It's everything that you can imagine, because I mean, it's literally out in the middle of nowhere. When you go out there and you just pull up, I mean, you can see that you're on camera. There's cameras everywhere. That's the first thing you notice, and there's signs everywhere that said it's being monitored by county police and everything. But yeah, it's definitely an eerie feeling, because before I even went, I watched several documentaries about it. Creation, the mysterious backer, and this and that. And I thought it had a lot of ties or connections to Jekyll Island, if you know anything about that.
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, it was definitely an eerie feeling, because it's like I said, it's literally out there in the middle of nowhere.
So
now, go ahead.
I have a question for Rabbit, and for any others who
glad you're here, Feisty.
have been doing this for so long. How did they know that it needed to be done? How did they know so long ago what needed to be done?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, one of the first people that I really got to know well here on YouTube has known about this for a very long time, and in a way kind of mentored me through my waking up anxiety phase. So I'm thankful for him. I hope he knows who I am, and several people in here really walked alongside me, and a lot of you were going through it around the same time too. But anyway, it's something that I think about, because for me, I didn't know about all of this really so little until about 4 years ago. But I know there's people who've been aware for a very long time, and it's like mind blowing to me how you're still saying it all. I mean, I might explain a few of you, but just teasing.
Rabbit's up with this lifestyle, and I can understand that, because when I was right out of high school, my grandmother, like even through high school, my grandmother had a huge garden, like huge, and so we were canning everything. Everything was fresh on the table, and I've taught my kids, grandkids, all of them know how to hunt.
That's great.
But because of renting, we got out of the gardening, and it's been so long.
Yeah, JS made a good point. Sorry, he said we already have a social credit score in America. That is true. But I don't think it's to the extent of, I think that this has been like a test run to where they want to take us. But I'm sorry, keep going, Bonnie.
A long game.
Yeah.
I was told that the USA created this social credit score, and China was a practice.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't know that, but yeah, that would not surprise me. Seems to be what we do. We
Right.
meaning our supposed representatives.
The Machine
Yeah.
Man.
Right? Or maybe the maker of, I can't remember his name in the movie, but the guy who made the Machine Man. I don't know. Elon Musk.
Like in all the super villains, you'd see like a dark shadow on the screen. You would never know who it was.
Right.
But
Yeah. I
I'm
know
probably
actually I know that people have different views on Elon Musk. I personally think that he is probably very corrupt and very much a part of the entire plan. But I mean, I can't say that I am not appreciative of some of the things he's done, but that doesn't mean that he's long term on the side of good. What were you going to say, What?
I could be wrong. I'm probably one of the younger people in here. I was born in '88, and just in my short time, I've seen so much change. Um, but my granddad, he used to tell me stuff all the time when I was a kid. I would listen, and it didn't really make sense till as you start getting older and stuff starts clicking. But
Mhm.
I think probably the first time when I really seen something wasn't right was probably 2000, the whole Y2K thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, my granddad, he was just always seemed like he was ahead of the curve on that type of stuff. He was
Mhm.
communications in the military, so him and his buddies, they stayed in contact as long as they could. But yeah,
Yeah. I know I'm behind a little bit here. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for being here and being a part of this conversation. It's been a pretty good talk after the movie. I'm glad we're doing this. Yeah.
definitely.
Joe, I love all your commentary. Really do.
Thank you for inviting
Yeah,
me.
I see. Exactly. I know it's hard sometimes in different climates to figure out for growing and things like that too. Definitely, there's some positives and negatives to cold or warm environments. Yeah. Yeah, Bonnie, I'm really glad you came up.
It's funny because the likeness of Uncle Sam was drawn up or illustrated in the likeness of a New York butcher named Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, Pen Prep says my goal in life is to buy over 5 acres to settle down and make a community with neighbors and live in as much peace as possible, grow my own food and get off the grid. Yep, that's the dream, right?
It's
I know
definitely
some people that
obtainable.
are working on it. Yeah, I know some people that, like Rabbit was saying, he's there. I know there's people who are there. I know there are people who are looking at buying community land, or I should say buying land communally. I
Yeah,
know some people who did that actually, I know people who were in California and almost their entire church moved together to a town in Texas. And they're not, it's not like some crazy cult or something. They're just regular people who see where the direction things are going and didn't agree with what's happening there and moved somewhere else together because they were already an established community. I think that's pretty impressive, pretty amazing.
no,
Yeah,
definitely.
right, Joe. My goal is to don't not starve and to die free. Yeah, that is the long term goal.
You can buy a lot of
Hey,
things,
Alex.
but they're not making any more land.
Yeah. Feisty says, I know things have changed, but reading the book The Jungle by Upton Sinclair is a very crazy book. Yeah, I have actually not read it. I know a little bit about it, but I've never read it. Yeah, that would be a good one to read. Yeah, exactly. The former Guidestones, right? Yeah, they were taken out recently. Pretty interesting timing for them to be blown up. And I also think that it's interesting that they said that the time capsule wasn't recovered, which I'm sure is not the case. But I'd be really interested to know what's in it. I don't know if we'll ever know, but yeah, yeah. Feisty, they're no longer there. They were blown up. Yeah. His off is here for the beer. We had popcorn earlier. Yep.
Uh, Almost 2 years
Right.
ago. It was July 2002.
Right, Rabbit. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with some of these things. I know I did some canning with my mom, but it was like, at Christmas we would can, cinnamon pears for gifts to give out. Like it wasn't like a regular part of our, of what we did. And we had a pantry that definitely had more than 3 days worth of food, but it wasn't like, it wasn't as much as we probably should have had, So I think already some of those like traditions were dying out in my own personal family, but I'm bringing them back. My kids love gardening, and they're already excited about canning. So step by step.
It's awesome. Plant the seed and it'll grow.
Yeah. Yep. I like how Joe says it's not a it's not a lifestyle, it's a way to live. Oh, okay. Well, maybe. I think lifestyle and way to live are kind of the same. But yeah, I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, it is really interesting about the guidestones, what's on them, and then the whole way that they were blown up. And I don't think they've ever said that they found who did it. And some, who knows? There's a lot of theories out there about that one.
Need to do some more research. I haven't researched it recently, but I need to. But yeah, I haven't heard anything publicly. It was a big deal when it happened, and after 2 weeks, you didn't hear no more about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Ladysmith, for myself, I'll just say I feel like I've talked about this before too. I do feel like it could be a spiritual veil that people are behind, because there are so many things now, honestly, looking back just 4 years, that I'm like, how could I have not have had any idea? Because I had pieces of the puzzle that should have like cued me in, and I'm not a stupid person. It's not like I just started thinking critically 4 years ago. I did think critically. I just didn't see it. And it's almost mind blowing to me now. So I do think there's something to that. And I've also seen people go from, since that happened for me, I've also seen people go from one side to the other, whether you call it cognitive dissonance, or you call it burying your head in the sand, or you call it a veil. I've seen people go from not seeing what's happening to accepting and seeing it. And I think it does happen for different people at different times, I'm just glad for all that it does happen for, more people to stand together and be united.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have to wrap this up, you guys. Thank you so much for everybody that came up on panel to talk after, and for everybody who came and checked out the movie, and for everybody here in chat being a part of the conversation. This has been really great. I will be live again on Friday at 9 p.m. And I don't know if anybody's live right now. Maybe we can check real quick and see if there's somewhere to send people. Hold on a second. I'll look and see if anybody else knows in the chat of someone live.
I appreciate you having me up. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know you've come up before, but it's been really great to get to talk with you a little bit more, and just hear your insight. And I actually would not have guessed that you're as young as you are, just because of your knowledge that you have. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I'm not that much older than you, just to clarify. But
hey, it's a state of mind.
He fools us all. It was good to hear your points on that. What life.
Yeah, okay, really quickly too. Skull said, I didn't understand the concept. I thought the movie started when the stream did. Okay, so for these, what I usually do, and I know it's like you don't really get it until you kind of participate in it, but basically what I do, and sometimes they're a little different, but I'll post, when it's a Backstage Speakeasy stream, I'll post it for the time that the movie starts, and I'll usually pin a link with some information, and also in the in the stream description rather, will be some of the information to let you know what we're watching and what the plan is. And then once it gets to the start of the movie, if there's still space backstage, because I can only have 10 back here, if there's still space, then I'll leave the link pinned so that anybody can come in, which happened tonight. There were some that were here the whole time and some that kind of popped in and out. And then once the movie starts, I'll shift the stream time to the time that we'll go live after the movie. And of course, it ends up being bumped a little bit if we pause to talk or anything like that, or have technical difficulties or anything along those lines. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. And it's been working out pretty well. But I would love to have more people, letting me know what you're interested in watching or listening to. We've done some concerts. We've done some documentaries. We've, kind of did some deep dives on different topics. So there's a lot of different things we do. But mostly these days I've been doing movies and then just talking about them after, like we are doing now. So, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to keep reading through these, but I think my kids are going to walk in like any minute. So it's going to get really noisy then. But thank you so much again to everybody. And this has been really fun, really good conversation. So much love, everyone. Any final thoughts from anyone up on panel?
I would like to respond to Neil's comment about something seems funny about the border. All of a sudden, I am seeing a lot of information that isn't adding up. We've seen the live streamers at the border. We've seen how many people are crossing. We've seen how many people have come into the United States. They're all over. And we've seen them piled everywhere. So all of a sudden now they're saying no one's coming through the border. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to look into that further. But I don't know why they would be trying to. Yes, I do. Because Texas has claimed it as an invasion using Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, and that can actually give them clout with the fight with the federal government. And each state has that right.
Yeah. Sorry, Bonnie, that we can't talk about that more. I do have to go. My kids are home. But really quickly, Winning Reality, I did check out your channel. I would love to do that. My email is in my channel description and in the stream description. So if you want to shoot me an email, that would be great to connect. And I'd love to talk with you more about it. And thank you for understanding about not coming up the other day. All right. Got to go, all. It's going to get really noisy here really quick. Much love. We're stronger together. And God bless everybody. Bye, guys.